Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to bringing the Division video. What I have guys today is a video showing you guys the only build you need for patch 1.8.2 at the moment. Now if you guys didn't know, if you have been living under a rock, there has been a lot of different gear changes in this patch. For example, Nomad got changed, Predator got changed, and also Tactician got changed. But if you guys want to see more information on that, I will have a link in the description to a video. I pretty much did all the patch notes and all the changes in one video. But like I said, I did want to make a video showing guys the build I will be using in 1.8.2, and trust me, there's going to be a lot of people using this build as well since it is already very popular. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video or find it helpful, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and let's get right into this. Alright, so the first thing I do want to go over are my abilities. So the first thing I'm using is a Concealer Pulse. I mainly use this build for PvP like the Dark Zone or Last Stand. I also use it for PvE a lot, but as I said, the majority of it is for PvP. So I'm using a concealer. I do want to stay away from the radar. I kind of want to be like a ninja in PvP, so that's why I'm using it. And also, the 15% critical hit chance is really useful as well. The next thing we do have is Immune Station. Immune Station is very, very important right now. As you guys know, Predator got nerfed, and pretty much the way it got nerfed is whenever you use a Immune Station, you could stay in that Immune Station and the bleed won't affect you at all. So having this is really important. This is my pretty much main source of healing, and also it's a main way to counter Pred Mark at the moment. Next up for my talents, I'm using Critical Save, Strike Back, On the Move, and One is None. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not the biggest fan of One is None, especially for PvP and on console. But with this build, whenever I use it, I always try to using One is None because it kind of helps me out. Although my aim kind of sucks, with this build my aim is just a little bit better and it's a lot easier to use weapons with this build. And as for the build, this is what I'm using. So yes, it is a 6-piece Classified Striker build. Don't worry, if you don't have Classified Striker, it is okay. You could still make this build. It's not going to be as good, but you could definitely make this build with a Ninja Bike backpack or just regular gear. So the first thing I do want to show you guys are my weapons. So for my primary, I'm using a LVAC. I'm actually not using a Lightweight 4. I like using the LVAC now, especially with a Striker build, because my control and my recoil pattern is really easy to kind of know and kind of get the hang of. The Lightweight 4 is really good, but my one problem with it is it goes everywhere from side to side and up and down. With the LVAC, it only goes up and down, it doesn't really go side to side at all. So if you do have decent aim, if you do have decent control of the weapon, you can make the LVAC that much more accurate. For the weapon talents, I'm using Vicious, Responsive, and Unforgiving. And then for my weapon mods, I'm pretty much stacked everything into critical hit damage and critical hit chance. For the secondary, I'm actually using a Showstopper. Now this is up to you, you guys can use whatever you want. The reason I'm using a Showstopper is 1, because of mobs, and 2, if I need to finish someone or get my stacks up really high, I could use the shotgun. It shoots 8 pellets at once, so I'm pretty much stacking, 8 stacks per shot pretty much with my striker. So that's why I'm using a Showstopper. As I said, it's really up to you. But what I have on it is Responsive, Destructive, and the Showstopper exotic talents, and then once again I'm pretty much using everything with critical hit damage. Lastly, for the sidearm, I would recommend using anything with predatory. The best thing is your sawed-off shotgun, but if you don't have that, if you don't have a good one, using just a pistol with predatory is really good as well. Alright, so moving on to the main part of the video, and that is the gear and what I'm using on it. So really quickly, I want to give you guys some options. If you don't have this 6-piece classified set, you could still make this build. It's not going to be as good, but it's very similar and it's pretty good as well. So the first one we do have is with a Ninja Bike backpack. So as you guys can see, I'm using 3 pieces of Striker, 1 Nomad, Savage Gloves, and a Ninja Bike backpack. This is the closest resemblance, I guess you could say, to this actual build, because 1, you have the damage from the Striker, 2, you have the healing from the Nomad, and you also have the Savage Gloves for a critical hit chance. Now you guys can switch this out to whatever you want. You could use final measures, you can use whatever for, EDR, stuff like that. It's really personal preference. And the final build is, if you're completely new, if you haven't played the game in months, you can make this. This is a 4-piece Striker and a 2-piece Nomad, and it's pretty much the basics. It's going to give you the health on kill, and it's also going to give you the weapon damage that you need. Getting back to the video, so the gear mods are the first thing I do want to show you guys. So for all my gear pieces, I'm actually using all firearms and critical hit chance mods. This is something I always kind of use and kind of go by the book. If I'm using a submachine gun, I'm using like firearms and stamina mods with EDR, but if I'm using a Lightweight M4 or a LVAC, I always like using firearms and stamina mods with critical hit chance. Now this can switch out, it depends if I'm playing PvE or PvP. But usually if I'm playing PvP, as I said, I go by that rule. If I'm using an AR, I always use firearms and stamina mods with critical hit chance. For my prototype mods, I'm actually using all 2% pulse critical hit chance mods. This once again is for a bit more damage and a bit more kind of use out of my pulse. Moving on to the actual gear, so for my chest piece, I'm using stamina, health, EDR, and ammo capacity. Really simple. For my mask, I'm using stamina, critical hit chance, disorient resistance. For the knee pads, we're using firearms, health, shock resistance, bleed resistance, and damage to leads. Ideally, you would want shock and burn resistance, but as I said, that's pretty much ideally. I haven't got that lucky, so I don't have burn resistance on this, but having shock is a must as well for PvP. For the backpack, I'm using stamina, health, and bleed resistance. Moving down to the gloves, we have assault rifle damage, critical hit chance, critical hit damage with firearms. And then last but not least, for the holster, I'm using critical hit chance. So yeah, that is the build. That is pretty much what I'm using, and this is pretty much the build you're going to be seeing a lot from players in 1.8.2. As I said, since the nerfs to Predator's Mark and Nomad, this is going to be a top tier build and pretty much gear set in the game at the moment. The final thing I guess I could show you guys are my character stats. So for my weapon damage, I'm sitting at 20.4k, 37.50% critical hit chance, 97% critical hit damage, 87% headshot damage. Moving on for my max health, I'm sitting at 353,000, and then that's pretty much it. I guess that's everything that's kind of important with this build. So yeah, that is it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about the build or anything, let me know in the comment section below. I'll respond to all my comments. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.